Thanks, Chair. I'm construction myself. Have been all my life in construction, and when I got elected at the county council, I brought out about carbon footprint for county council doing their works in their budgets, because when the county council are doing their works for the year and they're budgeting their works for the year, whereas we can see from governance that they ask people when they're building their house to be their carbon footprint. But yes, our government bodies don't look at it when they're doing the budgets for the roads, because they often take the budgets for their yearly budgets and they might use a quarry 30 miles away when there's a quarry within the works that they're doing. And if they use their carbon footprint, it would make sense that they use the localised quarry that would have the certified stone, but yet they look at the bottom line, the accounting line, as I call it. They say, oh, sorry, we're paying €6 a tonne here for stone. We're paying, it'll cost us $6.50 from the local person. But the government don't do their own work either. So on their carbon footprint, they've been, and I've watched budgets being given by local authority and government to quarries 30 and 40 and 50 miles away from the project. So do as I say, but not as I do. And that's what it comes back to. And we can make all the regulations in the world, but if the government don't look at themselves first in the mirror, and the local authorities, why would you look at somebody else and try and enforce something that's not been enforced within our own government? And that's fact. And I can see it in every budget from within the county council and within my own building. Now, I'm building every day myself, and thank God I'm still building, because it keeps me on the ground. It keeps me on a first day basis with the price increases and transport costs across the country. And I can see it firsthand myself on a weekly basis. I'm a lover of older buildings if they can be saved. And I'm also, if buildings are beyond repair, I'm also for people to build on new sections onto the back of old buildings and keep as much as the old structures they can. I'm also for materials that come off of buildings that can be recycled and reused, but under the licensing laws at the moment, any infill that comes off of sites has to go to licensed infill, and a lot of this infill can actually be reused. Blocks, buildings taken down, limestone being taken down, sandstone being taken down, and the criteria of your planning and the criteria, that means that you have to take this to a licensed infill. When that material is costing so much more to make on the other side, where it can be recrushed and used on roadways, it can be used for rebuilding stone buildings. There's an awful lot of work we can do with buildings that are taken down, but the laws and legislation that are in place at the moment by the council and planning commissions doesn't allow for this. And to me, that's common sense. And if you decide then that somebody wanted limestone from your property and you were taking down some and you moved it to another property, you're then in trouble with the county council, because then you are in receipt of imported goods from another site. And again, this is perfectly reusable material that can be used on another site. And this is where I see it going around in circles. And I do anything from, I have experience of anything from extensions to hotel renovations such as Drummullen Castle and Derman, all of those. I've been involved in those projects, and to industrial commercial projects as well. And I can see firsthand what one hand is saying and what the other hand is doing. So for me, I'd like to see the local authorities take direction from the likes of their own budgets when they're doing their roads, when they're doing their own retrofit building, that it's not just down to price. It's down to a certified quality material within the area where you're doing the work, and then you can budget out from that. And that, to me, might cost more locally, but it's a less carbon footprint in bringing stone 30 and 40 over already inadequate roads to get to a road that you're replacing. And I've brought this up on many occasions. So from a point of view is, what can you do to bring that type of legislation to our local authorities that they have to use the carbon footprint?
Okay, thank you, Deputy. And obviously you have a good knowledge both of the construction side, but what I'll term your own circular economy in terms of the opportunities there. As I explained to the deputies and to the chair from the last questioning, the circular economy, the waste area is the EPA as opposed to SEAI. So, but I see that becoming more and more to the fore, and where it is becoming more and more to the fore, and an area that is directly related with ourselves is through green public procurement. I mentioned it to Deputy O'Brien earlier on, and we talked about it in terms of the opportunities that that's bringing. Where we're concerned at our remit, I don't mean where we're concerned, but where our remit at the moment with local authorities is around the energy they use. But more and more, a lot of the discussions that we're having with them is the energy they influence. And that is the communities and others that are outside the boundary. But, you know, in terms of their own emissions is where we have focused. And obviously, the local authorities have been doing really well, and the public sector meeting their targets to 2020. The green procurement opportunity, and the discussions have started quite a number of years ago, and we feed into that green public procurement working group, of which the local authorities are an active part, and public sector organisations. And they're trying to get their heads around how do they score the likes of embodied carbon and carbon footprints in relation to the contracts that they're awarding. And that's something that is an evolving body of knowledge within the organisations that are there. It is also something that has been driven directly because our own department also has the remit with EPA and the Department of Environment. So the environment side of the house are heavily, they've, you know, a principal officer and someone directly involved on the circular economy itself, and that is becoming more and more to the fore in relation to driving the behaviours of local authorities and saying you're going to have these as part of your green public procurement and your standard public procurement. It won't be just green procurement, but standard procurement rules that you'll have to be looking at this and be taking those areas into it. And I think that's where the influence will come, and certainly with ourselves and the network that we've created and the knowledge that we're sharing through the public bodies, public sector, and local authorities, and that is to make them aware that, yeah, there is an impact other than just the financial. It's not just the value for money, the cost at the bottom at the end, but it's coming up with, and we work with OGP as well in terms of the Office of Government Procurement as part of this in relation to the green public procurement, to see how can it be scored in, how can it be valued, how can it be related in relation to that. And it's another part of community, but it's a big lever that the local authorities.
How do we join the agencies? How do we join the dots that one person knows? How do we join all the agencies so they're all working off the one hymn sheet? That it's one person, well, this is in my department, it's EPA, this is in my department, it's somebody else. How do we join the dots that you're all on the same page?
Yeah, and the only way I say it is where I see it through, like the Green Public Procurement Group is a national group, so it's across all government departments and it's across the public sector in general and different agencies. So the dots have been joined in relation to that group, so making sure that the information is starting to deliver out, and that the likes of OGP, who set the rules at national level, are seeing those embedded at local level in that as well. So,
thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you.